this little camp wood stove. It's actually a tent stove, not for that tent, but for like a canvas wall tent. And it has other applications too. And so we're going to unbox this and set it up and show the procedure. It has all the bells and whistles. We have the pad that goes underneath it for use inside of a tent, and this is the carry bag right here. We have the brush to clean it with. We have the water tank to heat water with, and we have the oven that we can use, and then the stove itself. This is the Winnerwell Nomad Stove. It's the large size Nomad Stove. So let's do it.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah, there we go. It has collapsible legs underneath that you can set up to get it a little higher up off the ground. It's got a flame view door, so you can actually see the fire, which I think is cool. So they're the...
This is not really thin, cheesy stainless steel. It's got some weight to it. Got the little rod to clean out the coals.
It's a 3.5-inch pipe. It's got a damper. So I just wanted to show you, I've unboxed the water tank here. You can put this on and actually heat water in here. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's right at 2 liters, so about a half gallon. You can actually put it on top of the stove, around the stove pipe, or it has these tabs here that you can hook onto the side of the stove itself. And the spigot is very smooth operating, very nice. And it's also got a handle. You can pick it up and move it around. Pretty nifty, and I can tell you, it's not thin, cheesy. This is thicker than most cookie sheets for sure. It's very stout, solid stuff.
Well, I read the instructions. It looks pretty simple, so we'll try putting it together. And what we did, instead of using the pad because we're out of doors, we just cleared a spot off here that was pretty level to get the leaves away so we can avoid possible potential for fire. But we're going to start with the chimney, and then we've got the stove box that come with it. We'll get that out also, and then put the water jacket on that my wife had showed you, and we'll show you how that fits on with the rest of this. So let's get it put together. The damper piece goes on first. We'll see how that sets in. Okay, that sets in fine. That's open, close. Yeah, that goes onto the top. And I hope I can reach the top.
Oh, sure you can. If not, we can take a section out. We don't really need it.
And it's as simple as that. On some of the models you can adjust the size of the grate for smaller or bigger sparks, but this one is not adjustable. But I think it'll work just fine. And that's it. It goes up quite a ways because it's actually designed to have at least 2 foot above a tent, and most tents that I'm aware of are about 6 foot. So that would give you ample draw above the tent. So it's pretty simple to set up. We'll get the water jacket, and you can see how this, of course, you'd fill it in here.
Don't heat it without water in it. It will warp it.
And it sets on here, and as the heat, I suppose, from the stove warms this up, and then the chimney itself will warm this up.
Right, and then you can also put it here, like we said, on these tabs if you want it on the side.
And the reason why you could put it on the side, from what I gather, is because we have the oven. You want the oven setting on here, and you'd need all of this room. So you could just hook the handles, or the slots on this, like so. So let's get out the oven and see how hard that is to put together.
You also have this little opening here. You can take it off and feed the fire from the top if you wish. That's not something I think I would use a lot, but anyway, I really like the flame view door. Probably would go ahead and invest in another replacement glass, because we had a stove with a glass, and it, you know, the inevitable always happens. We'll get that foam out of there before we move too much further. But here's the oven. This is the fast fold oven that you can actually bake bread and
It's kind of nice to have this
potatoes and stuff.
Velcro strap around it to hold it together. We're together, so we'll see. Set the sides up here and just lock them in the slots here. If I can get it, there we go. Top piece. Okay, I see. Yeah, so there.
So this is real time. This is actually putting it together for the first time. We've never seen this before.
And it's got
so it's got, that's neat. It's got a screen on the bottom to allow the heat in.
up.
Yeah.
And then we can just open it up with the lever here, and
Cool enough.
you've got the grates here.
Let's set it over here. So there you go. We'll try that out in the morning. Put some toast in there.
We've got, for the draft, to allow draft to come in, you can see it's drawing fairly well. Smoke coming out the top, and we'll just keep this open right now, full open, just to get the fire going good, and once we get the fire going good we can dampen it down here and then even there if we need to. But we got this wide open as well just to get the fire going. And we've got some water in here. We're going to see how well that heats it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to put the water tank on the stove unless it has water in it, because it will warp it. So we've had the stove going for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes. I did not have the water tank full, but it's already almost boiling. It's amazing. I hope to take this off and put it on the little side thing because it's going to get too hot.
We're just taking it and putting it on the side because it started boiling while it was sitting around the pipe.
You gotta kind of tilt it a bit.
There you go.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and we are getting ready to light the stove so we can cook breakfast. Mission accomplished. It's starting to get daylight, and I think we've had these on here for, what honey, maybe less than 5 minutes?
About 5 minutes.
And they're already boiling. Okay, so we've learned something about cooking on the stovetop here. This is low. This is medium. And buddy, you get back here and it's get with it mode. You see that?
And you don't think, because it's about 40 degrees out, that its stove's putting off much heat, which it's not going to heat the outdoors, but you step away a little ways, a few feet, and you feel that this stove really is putting out more heat than you think.
If it was in a tent, it would be toasty.
It'd be very toasty, And I know this stovepipe, you stand next to that, there's a lot of heat, so if this is all in the tent, you do be doing pretty well. We're going to let this cook a little bit more, and then we're going to put the oven on top of here and heat up some bread.
Time for my buckwheat waffle and my husband's bread. Something of note, the temperature on the thermostat right now reads a little over 200. I don't know if you can see the toast in there, Kaylin's toast. I just flipped it. So, just saying. My waffle takes a little longer because it's very dense.
I noticed last night when the sparks were coming out, it's a spark arrestor, but the sparks were getting out. It seems like the grates could be smaller because I did notice some sparks getting out, and so you'd have to watch that because right now we're in late fall and there's a lot of dry leaves and such. But anyway, what we're going to do now is take the stove apart, and just wanted to show you that we did order the brush with this, and I'm looking in here and there actually is a little bit of soot. Not a lot, but I think it would be a good idea to clean this after every use. And one other thing, when I was taking it apart, it's seated quite a ways in there. It fits very nice. No wind or bouncing around is going to cause this to fall over. It took a little bit for me to get this out of here, so I appreciate that. I like that. But also too, I could see it'd be a good idea to even brush this off. You maybe can't see it there, but that soot is coming off. You could see really isn't to like. It was really easy to use. Even the door to open here separate from this door was really nice to cause a draft. Everything worked well. It's nice to have the sidebars. But one thing I did notice this, when the stove got really hot, these didn't go up and down quite as easy. I suppose the metal expanded. It was a little stiff, but still worked quite well. The water doesn't take long for that to boil, and it's nice that you have an option that you can put it down here onto the side, because otherwise that water would just boil and evaporate, would be no purpose or no use. So very glad for that. Sets together real well as well. This feature, never used it, don't know that we will, but I guess there are those who have that. But all in all, I really would highly recommend this stove if it fits your needs. And we're looking at getting a wall tent, and it would be wonderful for that. So.
Okay, yeah, I agree with a lot of what Kaylin said, and you know, in regards to, this is to enable you to feed wood into the stove from the top. I'll be quite honest, with any cook stove, I have always wondered why. You know, this is a feature that I dislike. I really would prefer that the stove were a solid top rather than having this. To me, it's useless. The other thing that I would like, I'm giving my cons first, obviously. The other thing that I would like to see is a gasket on the inside of the stove door. That would give a little bit more airtight. And there may be dynamics there in the design that I don't understand, so I give leeway for that. I like the ease of operation of the door. All of the handles and latches operate very easily, very smoothly. It's not a problem. I like the fact that the draft door down here on the bottom has different notches so that you can open it just a little bit, or kind of medium, or much wider. And so I really like that feature. I like the fact that the handles do not get hot during operation. We accidentally got the stove very hot last night, and none of the handles were too hot to touch with a bare hand. One thing I would recommend is that you always have a pair of leather gloves when you're going to handle the cook stove. I like the fact that, and you can see it on this little door here on the top, that's heavy duty stuff. I mean, it's not, maybe you can show that closer on the camera how thick the stainless steel is on this thing. It's very solid, very well built stove. The other feature that I like and I would recommend, I think they have a smaller option on the water tank. This is a large one. I think it's 2 liter if I'm not mistaken. And I honestly don't think I would like it if it was any smaller. I agree with my husband that it's very nice that you can take it and hang it on the side, because with this thing we only put it like half full of water last night whenever we were testing it. And then this morning when we cooked our breakfast, of course we drained it down and we put more in it because they recommend not to have this on the stove if it's empty. And since it was low, we added more water. And that water that we added, I mean, it was what, maybe 3 minutes, and it was at a rapid boil. I mean, it was getting with it, 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say. And so it's very effective. It works very well. One thing we noticed on the oven is that even though you put it up here and the temperature on the gauge goes up very slowly, it almost burned your toast this morning, even though the temperature gauge said like 200 or 250 or something like that. So with the oven that you place on the top, you have to kind of watch things and be careful, because I don't know exactly how accurate that temperature gauge is, but it's very effective. It worked very well. With the size of this stove, it's not possible to use the oven and the cooktop together really, because there's only maybe 3 inches, maybe, would you say, sticking out from the oven whenever you're using it on the cooktop. You actually probably could use the oven with the water tank on here, but your water is going to get very hot and you're going to want to take it off. So it's best, what we found, to just take the water tank off and hang it on the side when you're going to use the oven on the top. I like the ease of operation of the spigot on this. It's extremely smooth. This is a very nice quality spigot, and they really didn't cut any corners on this stove. And I think we bought almost everything that goes with it. We bought the mat that goes underneath, which we didn't use because it's, you know, we're on dirt. We don't need it. Now if you were in a tent, yes, you would need that. We did get it because, like my husband said, we do plan to get one of those tents. We did. You want to get the carry case, and let's show them, and then we'll show you a little picture of the stove as we take it down and in the carry case. And so we kind of got all the bells and whistles because we fully intend to use this and perhaps use it in a tent later on. So it comes with a nice carry bag. It's got is that like a plastic thing in the bottom?
Yes.
It's got a heavy-duty plastic thing in the bottom. The legs do fold so that, you know, it's not going to poke a hole in the bottom of the carry bag, and it has the company emblem on it, which is nice. So can you think of anything else?
Well, I did want to say too, I didn't know we're going to be commenting on the oven, but the oven really impressed me.
Yeah.
I was surprised. It did toast my bread quite well, and actually quicker than I thought.
Yeah.
So I think we didn't use it just but for that, but I think it would work good. I just don't know, with many other things, I just don't know how well you can regulate the heat with that. But there was one thing with the oven that I did notice that I didn't like, because all of these, as my wife mentioned, the handles never got hot. But on the oven it had a different handle, and that did get warm, almost to the point I couldn't touch it. And so, as my wife suggested too, a good pair of leather gloves would be good for handling this stuff, because it does get hot and you need to move some of these things. But the handles, they stayed cool.
Yeah. And when you take the water tank off the top of the stove, you really, you kind of need both hands because as you go to hang it, and I didn't really care for this, you can't just hang it straight down. You have to kind of angle the bottom in, and then it'll catch. That's not a deal breaker for me, but it would be, to me, a little bit nicer if you could just drop it down on there and not have to tilt that in. So, but like I said, that's definitely not a deal breaker for me. Final thoughts?
Well, we're just going to clean it up, put it away, and if there's anything that stands out to us that probably would be an issue, we'll put it on here. But all in all, I have to say Winnerwell did a very great job.
Fantastic
And I know too, we talked about a tent, so if those of you are interested, they do make a triple wall addition to this that you can run it through the top of your tent. So they have the accessories for that.
Alrighty, y'all. We'll see you on the next video.
Just want to give an update. I had mentioned that this was sticking, but really it just takes a little gentle back and forth. Anyway, just wanted to let you know Winnerwell would appreciate that. It wasn't really an issue. It was the operator issue.
We all have operator issues. Might be enough room in the ends for those. Sweet.
That's nice.
Probably the oven will fit on the other end.
It might.
So that
And
means
then,
almost all of your accessories would be right in one case.
Right in one
Nice.
case. That would be very nice. This is the mat that sits underneath. They've got the dimensions, 8 inches on the sides and the back and 18 inches on the front is code, I guess, but it's got, you can stake it down so it doesn't move, the aluminum foil back. And what
then
we're
it's
going
got,
to do
yeah,
is to, it was to our surprise, I guess I didn't do enough research, but the stove itself fits in here and the water jacket actually fit in here, and it looks like the oven would fit in here. And this we're going to roll up and strap in here and everything will be in one case. That is a big plus.